elected members and staff, I'll open the meeting at 5:30 and appreciate your attendance this evening at this special council meeting. I'll declare the meeting open. There is an online attendee, and therefore, can I confirm to begin with that Councillor Smith is able to hear us?
Good evening. Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you, and I'd just like to advise you, Councillor Jess, that in the instance that there are any technical difficulties, I'll call for a 2-minute adjournment, but after that I'll recommence the meeting. I would like to acknowledge that we're here this evening on Mandurah country and pay my respects to elders past and present. There are no apologies this evening, but I will, for the members of the public, make everyone aware that any decision can be revoked in accordance with the Act. And therefore, please don't do anything about this until you've received it in writing. Amendments to the standing orders, the motion's on the screen before you. I won't read it out, but I'll ask for a mover in a second for that. Councillor Rogers was first off the mark. Councillor Shoemaker coming in a close second. Is there anyone wishing to oppose that? The motion is carried. I'll open public question time at 5:30. Are there any questions? I'll close public question time. There are no presentations or deputations at tonight's meeting. CEO, have you received any declarations of interest?
Yes, Mayor, I have received one from Deputy Mayor Caroline Knight, and it's a financial interest as she is, if Council agrees, would be the recipient of the additional training and clothing allowance.
Thank you to the CEO. Are there any other declarations that anyone wishes to make? Yes.
I recently received a gift from Councillor Knight.
That's nice. I didn't receive a gift.
I just wanted to.
Yeah. Well, this took a turn for the worst. Thank you, Councillor Cumberworth, for your declaration. The CEO has advised me that a gift from an elected member to another elected member is not required to be declared, but thank you very much nonetheless. I will continue on with the meeting. Thank you, and remind us all that this evening's meeting is being recorded as part of our council policy, and therefore we will continue on. There's only one item on the agenda this evening. But we'll ask the Deputy Mayor to leave the chamber in relation to that item. Thank you. I will move the motion. Is there a seconder? Councillor Shoemaker. Councillors, well, first of all, just briefly speak to the matter that has caused this item to come before us. I will obviously be vacating the office of Mayor on Australia Day, January 26th next year. So whilst I'll be saving my comments in relation to my departure for my final council meeting, which will be the December council meeting, I wish to just note that I've presented my resignation to the Chief Executive Officer as the report contains, and I've laid out the nature of my departure in terms of my last day served. And that wasn't a letter that when I was first elected as mayor in 2017, I thought that I would write. And so it's with a great deal of emotion that I sit here as the outgoing mayor, but I look forward to continuing to serve in the role up until my very last day. And I thank all of those councillors who have been so supportive to me, both in my capacity as mayor and personally, as I navigate leaving this role. The motion before us now allows us to consider the best way forward in terms of what to do in the absence of the mayor holding the office. And to me, the way forward is very clear. There is no justification in my mind for an election, a by-election that would be for the period of 9 months. There is a caretaker period within that as well, and so really on every measure, it would be, I think, an irresponsible use of funds to hold a by-election. Not to mention the fact that the West Australian Electoral Commission have clearly indicated that they wouldn't be in a position to even hold a by-election until May. And so then council's forced with the option of either waiting until that timeframe or holding its own election, which, as we know, can only be an in-person vote, and therefore question the democratic nature of that. The other components of the motion speak to really ensuring that the deputy, in acting in the mayor's role, is best supported to perform the duties of the office. And I'll note that in each of the cases that speaks to an increase in allowances, etc., it is simply in line with the council policy or the entitlements that are due to the mayor, and that's appropriate. So I'd encourage you to support this motion and to make it very clear to you that, having worked alongside Councillor Knight in the capacity as deputy since my first day in office in 2017, she has been the most wonderful and supportive deputy, such a capable individual, so able to fulfill, as she has done on times where I have not been present, the office of mayor, and I have absolutely no doubt in her capacity to perform the duties up until the October election. And therefore, I would encourage you to support this motion. To the seconder, Councillor Schumacher.
Thank you, Mayor. Firstly, good luck in the elections and your future. I totally and absolutely agree that the idea of holding a special by-election only months, basically would be months out from the actual local government elections, at a cost of around $240,000 would be an absolute waste of ratepayers' money. And we are trying to find cost savings. Whilst I do have some reservations about the allowance increase to Councillor Knight stepping up, I also do understand that some of these are for handling media, emergency situations, things that are important if they occur to this community. And the other point being is that Councillor Knight, from my understanding, has not used or has used very little of her allowances as it is. So she may not well use any of them. And at the end of the day, it's when Councillor Knight steps up as mayor, then it's up to all of us in council to band together even more and assist wherever we can. And I think that's our role. And Mayor Rees-Williams, I'm just asking you, if you do successful in the state election, are you going to sing songs at the end of end of Parliament?
Councillor Schumacher, is there anyone wishing to speak against the motion? Councillor Burns, a question.
Thank you, Chair. To the relevant officer, most likely the CEO, what is the current Deputy Mayor training allowance? I've got several questions. Would you like me to ask them in succession? So what's the current DM training allowance? How much has been spent to date? It was alluded to by Councillor Schumacher. I want some clarification on that. Is the $8,000 on top of this amount already spent? And is the $8,000 then sufficient? And finally, for the point of clarification, point 3 of the council resolution, the recommendation, I apologise, to support her transition in performing all mayor functions. If you could just elaborate slightly on that one, please.
Thank you to the CEO. To the Director of Business Services.
Thank you for the questions and through the chair. In accordance with elected member and CEO training and professional development, travel and events council policy, the councillors have an allowance over 2 years of $9,000, and this covers costs associated with attendance to training and development activities. This also includes the actual costs in relation to registration, accommodation, meals and travel. In relation to the second question regarding Councillor Knight's expenditure to date, over the last 2 years, mainly in 23-24 financial year, Councillor Knight has claimed $2,390.81. She currently has $6,609.19 remaining in her budget. Sorry, could I have perhaps I'll refer back to the CEO for the additional questions.
Thank you, CEO.
So just a point of clarification then, the 8,000, is that on top of that current, those limits that you just outlined?
Thank you, the CEO.
So instead of a allowance of $9,000, it will be for what we'll do is we'll apply $4,500 for the year that she has already incurred being an elected member, and then add $8,000 for this financial year.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
And also, just to elaborate further, I know it was spoken to with the seconder. If you could just that support that transition, just a brief explanation on that, and therefore, is the 8,000 sufficient to meet those requirements?
Through you, Mayor. The quotes we've received for crisis media training and general media training, it will be sufficient. However, if there are additional sessions that are required, it may not be, and we will come back to council to let you know whether there is further training that's required.
And just for the, I'll add my response to the question. Having previously been elected to the office of mayor for the first time, I also undertook the same training. The reality is we're heading into bushfire season, and so it's important that that work be commenced prior to the deputy mayor taking on the role as mayor. That work should commence as soon as possible, and my understanding is it is. So I think in supporting the motion tonight, we ensure that the city's key spokesperson is able to be and to be familiar with the landscape of media, particularly going forward over the next period. Thank you. Any other questions? Is there anyone wishing to speak against the motion? There be no speakers against, I will put the motion. Those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Oh, is there anyone against? Thank you, Councillor Smith. I'll just confirm that you're voting for the motion.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you very much for that. Could we have the deputy? I'll declare the motion carried. Could we have the deputy mayor back in the room, please? There be no further business to the meeting. I'll close the meeting at 5:42.